Hi YouTube, this is Cece. We have a beginner's plushie project for a kit this month. From those of you that participated last year, this will look a little bit familiar. These are from what wasn't used last year for the stuffed animals. So this is the most basic of projects. You'll have the option of cats, dogs, wolves, bears, bunnies, and what I call kind of like patchwork fusions, where like there was a back and a front, or just two backs, or whatever combination, that it didn't make a complete stuffed animal for some reason or another. So those were put together so that you could make double-sided wolves, dogs. I don't remember what else is in there. I think there might be some foxes. Anyway, so this will take about, if you're doing this pattern at home, I did link the designer down below. This does take about 10 to 15 ounces of stuffing. I have it like medium fullness right now, and it's about 13 ounces. So it really depends on how full and how squishy you want this to be to determine how much filling you need. Have fun! So the bears, bunnies, wolves, foxes, well no, we don't have any foxes this year, cats, dogs, all have this same basic format. There is a already stuffed tail, there's back, there's a front. This one is like the patchwork fusions where like I'm missing the back to this piece, so I used a back from another piece that didn't have a front. And I thought these were really cute together. Okay, so everything should be more or less sewn in pretty much 3 seams at most. First thing you're going to do is, if your felt isn't already sewn down, we're going to tack this down with a zigzag stitch. Okay? You can use a thread that matches, you can use one that contrasts, up to you. And then I'm going to put in safety eyes and a safety nose. If you are skilled with embroidery, and I am very much not, you can also add a mouth if you want to. And then I'll show you the next step after this is tacked down, and I'll show you how to put a face on it. I highly recommend, when you're at this step, is a fine point marker or pen and a seam ripper. If you're a child, you may or may not want your parent to assist with this step because sharp, pointy thing. However, these are safety eyes, and so they should, once you get them on, stay. And that's the great thing. What I didn't know about eye shines for these, by the way, is that they're both supposed to be going the same direction. They're not supposed to be going in opposite directions like they are right now. Or they were before. So, isn't that so adorable? Okay. So these ones should also have a nose. If you have ear pieces up here, you would have a nose that matches, because typically the inner ear and the nose are sometimes the same color. But I figured it made my life easier when I was packing these. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So you should have 2 eyes, a nose, and 3 washers. If you're missing anything or these are the washers don't fit, let me know. So safety eyes should be put on during this step. So the nose you're going to want underneath this point right here. So you're going to very gently put your seam ripper in and make a very tiny hole. And then you're going to push your nose through the felt into the fabric on the other side. Okay? Make sure that the triangle is pointing downward. Then you put the washer on. And then it will not come back off. Or at least it shouldn't without a great amount of force. Okay? Careful not to cut your zigzag threads. Speaking of the zigzag threads, the way that I did this is I shortened my stitch length, but turned it as wide as possible, and then just very slowly went over the edges so that this edge of the felt was between the zigzag. Okay? Throwing that out there. Now, you can make your eyes be on the same level as the nose, have them higher, like, it's up to you. Personally, what I would do is have them right where this V is, down so that they are level with the nose. But that's my personal preference. Have fun with it. And those of you that have the circle, the nose should be in the center of the circle. but the eyes can be wherever you want them to be. So just kind of have fun with it. If you want them to have a really smushed face, that's up to you. I just prefer with this particular felt style to just have them lined up. And that's just me. So again, you're gonna match where you want it. And this is where the pen comes in, because the nose is easy for this particular one. But when you're trying to figure out where you want your eyes to go, a small mark goes a long way. That's about where I want them. I'm not a perfectionist, so if you want to break out the ruler, go for it. So, very small hole through both layers. Oh. And if you make your hole too big, it's not going to keep the eye in. So you want to make it as small as possible, and then just feed the eye through. And then push the washer down. And then there you go. And that is exactly where I wanted my eye shines to be. I would make sure that the eye shines are where you want them before you put the washer on, because you may or may not be able to move them. So, let's do this again. So very gently make a very small hole. Other thing you can do very carefully is, if it's not quite reaching that bottom layer, cut it right where the tip is coming out, and it should assist, if your felt is also cut, in getting that eye through. Okay, eye is through. Make sure my eye shines match. My eyes are slightly lopsided, but that just makes it all around a little more derpy and a little cute. And then push the washer down. And I don't have a whole lot of finger strength, so you may or may not need help doing this part. And if your washer breaks or anything, please let me know. I have lots more washers if you need them. Okay, and there we go. So, slightly off. I don't think anybody but me will notice. That's how you put the face on. You are welcome to embroider a mouth. I am not very good with embroidery, so I am opting not to do that for mine. And then you're ready for this piece. So, the tail has two options. So, for the back piece, you could cut a hole, put the tail through it, and sew it down so that you have a tail that sticks out. Or you can actually stitch it where you want it on either side into the seam that you're going to do all around. And then make it so that your tail is on your animal, but like you can see it from the front or from the back. It's entirely up to you. I kind of like this method because it makes it a lot easier. And then for those of you that have the patchwork animals with multiple tails, you can actually make it double-sided and put faces on both sides. Have fun with it. And if you need additional supplies for that, let the library know. They'll let me know. We can make it happen. And then you can have a reversible stuffed animal. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to stitch this down so that I can make sure that all the fluff and all the layers are in the seam allowance already, and just stitch it. And then go ahead, right sides facing, stitch all the way around except for this very top between the ears, because that'll assist me in flipping everything inside out and being able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this tail down, stitch all around, and then I'm going to show you how to clip and where to clip your corners, because that's going to be really, really important for when you turn it right side out so it doesn't pucker. Slow and steady when you do this step, both when you're sewing and when you are doing clipping. You do not want to clip your seams. Okay, You only want to clip the seam allowance, okay? Corners, lop them off. See how the pointy bits are still intact over here? They are not intact on this side. Take out this extra fabric right here. I have also sewn over this corner like 3 times on both sides so that it is uber strong when you turn it right sides out and you have the nice pointy bits on the face to kind of do the whiskers. So, you can't really see it, but I have clipped where the corners are, like right here and here, and then where it curves. Doing more clips like right here, where it curves a lot more strictly, and down here where it does as well. The reason for this is because when you turn it right side out, it's going to lay a lot nicer, especially when you stuff it. So after you've done both sides, you can turn it right side out through the hole at the top. I made a small hole because the tail is nice and thin. If you have a fox, or not a fox, because we don't have any more foxes, a dog or a wolf, you're going to want to make a slightly bigger hole to make sure that that stuffed tail gets out. And then it's going to be stuffing time. So before we get to stuffing, we need to make this lay nicely before we start stuffing. So my big thing is I have a bunch of metal Korean chopsticks, and these are great because the blunter end you can use to push out your corners like that without it risking going through the fabric. The whiskers where there is the felt is going to be the hardest place to turn, depending on how much space you left yourself when you made the corners. So just work at it. Slow and steady wins the race. See? Make it look nice and pretty. Go slow because you don't want to accidentally like make a hole in the fabric, because that will be aggravating. And then just kind of go out and make sure that like each arm is pushed out all the way to the corner, that each leg is pushed out. Like the whiskers for me is the hardest part because of the fact that it's just, it has that felt that's stiffening it so that it retains its shape. Then there's a foot. The tail's already out, which means that I can easily find the other foot. And then the other arm. So this process just goes slow, steady. Make sure you can see your seams. Don't forget your ears. And then if these are already pushed out by the time you start stuffing, it should cooperate a lot better. Again, slow and steady wins the race. Don't feel like you need to rush this. Like, even if you think you have a deadline, trust me, you don't want to rush this, make a mistake, and then have to do it again. Okay. And if you accidentally make a hole, just go ahead and sew that part again. Turn it, clip it, turn it right side out again. But that's just an extra step that you probably don't want to take if you're feeling rushed. And then there is my kitty cat. So its tail can stick out. It can also tuck behind or in front. Again, benefits of having the tail on the side, because from the front you can tell that's a cat. Not that the Christmas kittens all over the fabric should not have been your first hint. So there you go. When you stuff it, don't ball it up and stuff it, because if you do that, then those balls are just going to end up migrating. Just start stuffing it and pushing it into the places you need. This will get really big. I'm not going to lie. You will see when you get your stuffing how much stuffing you need. I am actually going to weigh this real quick so that I can say accurately how much stuffing you need if you're just going to do this purely at home. So I'm going to weigh this and then tell you how much stuffing you need after I've already stuffed it. Alright, so here is our Christmas cat. Alright, so in order to stuff the arms, I would roll up your plush, or your stuffing, and stuff it into the arms and legs so that it'll stay.
when you start stuffing everything. And then for the ears, just kind of go up through the hole and nudge it into the ear space, and it should stay. And this is actually this is the size of a miniature pillow, let's be honest here. And it's soft enough that you can totally rest your face on that. So, the last part is to ladder stitch the top, or however closing stitch you want to do. I'm going to recommend looking this up on how to finish this because of the fact that I just don't have the good resolution on this in order for you to be able to do it just from what I'm doing. But then, you have Plush.
If you'd like to see more videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Travis! Hello.